Mediographer.
Welcome to Mediographer Online. I'm Chris McHugh, and this is a show about TV getting sucked into the online world. And of course, as always, I'm with TV's Phil Capello.
How are you doing tonight, Chris?
Hey, man, I'm doing great. Last week we talked about the inefficiency of TV news, and to an extent, we really saw it in action when they had the big wintry blast, snowmageddon, whatever you call them, here in the East Coast. Everybody was, cringing.
I like the snowpocalypse, the psychopolypse, the snowpocalypse. I don't think
I didn't even see
quite
that
right, but snowmageddon. We'll go with that one.
Dogs and cats living together, and for me, I wasn't watching the New York City stations because I'm in this weird area that's just on the edge of, for those people who don't know, you have your designated market areas in the United States. New York City's #1. You got LA and Chicago, #3. And I'm in this weird area, which you're kind of going into the Connecticut markets. And I was watching those stations really for the first time. And the coverage was nothing that I hadn't seen before. And they said, all right, the show's starting, team coverage. And you got like 10 reporters. It's ridiculous.
I call it the Brady box. When you have more than 4 boxes, you should have like the maid in the middle looking up, the sassy girls, the boys, but yes.
Sam the butcher giving Alice the meat, and all that, and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be more of the same. One thing that was a little bit different from years gone by is that they had the reporters that they're starting to do now where they're actually driving in the car, which is interesting and innovative technologically. But it's just like everything else in live TV news. You're not bringing any context to it. You're saying, look at me, I'm snowing right now. You're at home watching me talk about the fact that it's snowing. And there's really nothing, absolutely nothing else that you could say other than it's snowing unless you have some type of road condition.
It's not inherently a national disaster for it to be snowing in the northeast of the United States. I mean, it's the same story every year. They go out, and then they go, it's good snowball snow, and then they might even reference the cameraman's name and go, ha, Jimmy, and throw the ball at the cameraman.
Phil, this is heavy heart attack snow.
Remember to stretch before. Don't drink alcohol; it won't really warm you. And then they'll have a ruler, and they'll put that, and they'll go as it goes up. So, and then there's always the weird cross-country skier, which I always, I mean, is he really that into cross-country skiing, or does he like his picture in the newspaper every year?
One thing I did see, and I want to say it was up in Minnesota, maybe a Minneapolis station or something, and they were spraying water up into the air or something, and it was crystallizing like right away.
Now that's a trick.
That was the most interesting one, I think, because it was sub-zero. But other than that, I get it. And I was hunkered down for the day. I was finished working from home, and I really wanted to get into it, but there wasn't anything to offer. And they were doing wall-to-wall coverage, and so you basically, when you repeated the next half hour, you were just going around to these same people stuck in a ditch somewhere, saying the exact same thing. Talking to the skiing guy again. So I understand why you want to do that because it rates well and you're extending the broadcast.
Well,
and there's people coming in every half hour. But
it's a ratings driver. I mean, it's why the storm is always hyped. It's not a mystery. Morning news is a big seller because it changes every day. People put it on when they wake up. If there's a snowstorm, it actually is the news doing what it should be doing, saying, we're giving you information, and it's telling you, is your school closed, and how do you drive to work? But there's no real downside for them. It's the only news story that they can totally get wrong. I mean, they got it wrong in New York City, and I don't blame them. They were trying to save lives or what have you. But they were wrong. It wasn't a blizzard. I mean, so you can't blame them, but it's always going to be hyped. And it seems like nowadays with a lot of the social media, we don't need to see the picture of the dog in the snow because we can go to Facebook and see our friend's dog in the snow, and it'll be pretty cute.
You know, from working in TV news for about 10 years, I'm sick of the hype, and I just want to know the facts. So anything weather is generated from the National Weather Service, if there's a watch or a warning. So I've got an app that basically aggregates all that stuff, and you're able to see just the basically little paragraph format that they have for what's going on with the weather. It's just like what you got back in the day if you worked in radio or television, and the teletype would come, and you would rip and you would read it. And that's what I'm getting with this app. It's pure, it's unbiased, it's just the facts, and it's what everybody's basing it on. So why would I waste my time listening to a meteorologist? This could happen, this could, anything could happen. And then also, too, the roadways. I don't need them for the traffic report. I got the Waze app. And reaction, you were just saying, you got Facebook and Twitter and anything else. So there's basically nothing that television news could offer me that I can't get on my phone right now.
Nothing. You've seen these weather reporters, right? I mean, a lot of it's entertainment. And you have to give them credit. And I mean, not that they're all good looking, because they're all good looking, but they will go into the storm. And it's entertainment at this point.
Yeah, that's all you're doing. You can feel like you're part of it more so than just looking on your phone. You're like, look, that's.
And it is the one thing where watching live television, I think, adds a value. I mean, at this point, it's an entertainment value. But there is something to be said when it's the heavy part of the storm and you look out and it's the heavy part of the storm. So I'll give this one to broadcast television. But we'll see as time goes on. I think even Facebook may be able to suck this one out.
And just because of the way the broadcast medium is, there isn't really a way you could innovate. What are you going to do? An overlay of tweets or, a chat room or something like that? Just the way that the medium is, the way it's broadcast. Unless it's online and you're adding things, on the screen there or interactive things, it is what it is. But what is it you said a few weeks ago about television was almost in search of a problem? You had said, we were talking about the fact that you can't just get over-the-air television. You said it's everywhere.
But I said television's a technology that isn't respected because it's so ubiquitous. Meaning the fact that you can get a live HD signal in real time over the air does add this huge value. And for all us being able to have this amazing technology right now on the internet, it kind of looks crappy. I mean, they can put you out live, an HD amazing signal. They do it every Sunday in football, and the fans line up to watch it. But you have to have the right event. So it's almost maybe the solution with the snow is to get some live GoPros and stick it on some, extreme skiers and send them down because it's a good day skiing. Because it's the one trick that they're able to do that the internet can't. And people love to watch a snowstorm on television. So for all us trying to be the hip cord cutters, I still am going to have to give it to network television. The kind of numbers they've pulled for a storm that didn't even hit New York, it's crazy.
I repeated what you said, though, about in search of, almost in search of its own problems, because it is everywhere. And I had somebody said that they watched the show and they thought that was a great point. And you were talking about South Korea and the phones.
That they have antennas on their phone. I was kidding around my girlfriend that my antenna I moved because you didn't like it in the shot. But, I just have an antenna to watch television. And my techie friends almost look at that but no, you're a cord cutter, so what do you have your Roku? And I'm like, no. I have an antenna that I move around, and based on where I move it around, I get all this really good programming.
And there's a
So
ton of programming now that it's digital, and everybody's got a sub channel, and it's such a simple thing. It's everywhere. You should be able to put an antenna on everything. The iMac on the wall right behind you should have a tuner. You should be able to just do it, but it's Apple, so they're closed off. But so are all these cell phone companies. They're not putting that on there.
so you
And
used to watch television on this thing, huh?
for a year or more. And I really like the fact, though, that the older iMacs, we just got a new one, they had that little 99-cent remote, and you could at least pause it or whatnot, but the new one doesn't come with a remote. Why in the world would Apple not put the remote in there with it?
I think they're teasing us with the future of Apple television, but yes, I mean, I watch my television on that. I have an antenna. I can hit the space bar on my wireless keyboard, but it's almost like they're not trying. So maybe there'll be a new product. But otherwise, it seems the best way to watch the internet or watch television on the internet is on a television, meaning everybody at the end of the day is going to have a television hooked up to the internet, probably controlled by a phone. And all these distinctions to me are just screen sizes. Is it a small screen? Is it a medium-sized screen? Is it a large screen? So, but yeah, I think they gotta get the remote right, or they're not gonna have me watching television too much longer on that guy over there.
Somebody had a remote that probably was about the size of my phone, and it had a little mouse pad. It had your QWERTY keyboard, but then it had the mouse pad here, and it was just so nice and elegant, I thought, because wouldn't that be perfect for your iMac if you had something that size and you could type Netflix or just navigate to switch screens or do whatever you want on that. I don't understand why that Apple doesn't make that, or
well, Apple has with the iPhone where you can project, if you have Apple TV, the little box, you can project it onto a regular television and control it with your phone. So I guess that's the closest product they have. Like I said, the best way to watch the internet on the television is to watch it on a television.
Yeah, and we got a really good deal on a 50-inch TV, and it was a dumb TV, and we made it smart. We put the Chromecast on there, which is nice to be able to put anything up there. We had a Roku before the Chromecast with all the completely ridiculous channels that nobody would ever watch in a million years, and maybe 10 good channels, and a lot of them you have to go authenticate with a cable TV subscription anyway. So people are obviously just like, I'm like, hey Phil, what's your login? So I could go watch, HBO Go or something like that. And then I got an invite for the Sling TV that we talked about, which is really shaking it up. And I got the invite, and first of all, they don't have their systems in order, so you could go put your credit card and everything and get an account online. You got to call up because they're just not there yet. And I actually hung up. I'm sorry to the customer service representative, but I'm like, I'm not dealing with that. I thought it was going to be automated. And I was going to enter my code, but I'm looking at it, and there's really the grouping of stations that they have, which is maybe 12. I would never pay $20 for those, and they're like, oh, and you could add on, and you could have Bloomberg Television. Bloomberg Television is free everywhere. Who cares? That's like the biggest, so it was.
That's what I watch online at the bank.
It's like what?
It's what I watch online at the bank.
Oh goodness, yeah, I know. It's always compelling television over there at Bloomberg, but you know what? They're if you're in the financial markets, I guess that's your go-to. But
it's actually one of the biggest stations in the world. It's in every Sheraton and Hilton and Marriott around the world.
Yeah, literally have a Bloomberg.
It's about as big as it's going to get, but it does show, like I said, content's king. If you're putting out content that people want to watch, you don't need to put out the.
And I always said, as people decide, the ad dollars drop in television, and they downsize, and people decide, no, I don't want to watch this type of entertainment. No, I don't want to watch this entertainment. I always thought for news, the last thing to go would be business news, because these people, it would be newspaper or online or anything, because they have skin in the game. When you're
Oh,
a
it's
day
not.
trader,
They're very serious.
yeah, yeah, and everything else, like who cares about, somebody's jumping off a bridge or whatever, is like doesn't affect my bottom line. But when it's actually something that's going to affect your pocketbook, I think at that point it becomes vital, and people are willing to pay for that.
Yeah.
People still pay for the Wall Street Journal online subscription, but how
Oh,
many people pay
Bloomberg in
online for?
particular, their bread and butter is still their terminal. And I think it's something like $20,000 a month for a terminal, and that's just information. But it has video now. It has video incorporated in it, so it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. But maybe we'll talk about that next time. We can talk about how video is getting incorporated into major platforms in the financial markets.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Phil, that's all the time we have. If you guys are watching us, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, social media, and all that stuff. I'm Chris McHugh.
I'm Phil Capello.
We'll see you next time.
Mediaographer.
I watch online at the bank.
Oh goodness, yeah, I know. It's always compelling television over there at Bloomberg, but you know what? They're if you're in the financial markets, I guess that's your go-to. But
It's actually one of the biggest stations in the world. It's in every Sheraton and Hilton and Marriott around the world.
yeah,
It's
literally have a
it's
Bloomberg.
about as big as it's going to get, but it does show, like I said, content's king. If you're putting out content that people want to watch, you don't need to put out the
And I always
highest
said,
production value.
as people decide, the ad dollars drop in television, and they downsize, and people decide, no, I don't want to watch this type of entertainment. No, I don't want to watch this entertainment. I always thought for news, the last thing to go would be business news, because these people, it would be newspaper or online or anything, because they have skin in the game. When you're a
it's
day
not.
trader,
They're very serious.
yeah, and everything else, like who cares about, somebody's jumping off a bridge or whatever, is like doesn't affect my bottom line. But when it's actually something that's going to affect your pocketbook, I think at that point it becomes vital, and people are willing to pay for that. People still pay for the Wall Street Journal online subscription, but how many people pay
Bloomberg in
online for?
particular, their bread and butter is still their terminal. And I think it's something like $20,000 a month for a terminal, and that's just information. But it has video now. It has video incorporated in it, so it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. But maybe we'll talk about that next time. We can talk about how video is getting incorporated into major platforms in the financial markets.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Phil, that's all the time we have. If you guys are watching us, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, social media, and all that stuff. I'm Chris McHugh.
I'm Phil Capello.
We'll see you next time.
Mediaographer.